Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I am Kimberly Costa. I'm currently the secretary of the Regency Society of Virginia. I have been a member for about 5 years now, since I moved down about 7 years ago. So about 5 years ago I joined, and I decided I worked in the 18th century. I'd like to play in a different period, so I went really far into the Regency. But I really love the clothing, and I love the cooking. I am a food historian. I have a degree in U.S. history and a degree in theater. But when I was employed at Colonial Williamsburg, I trained to be an 18th century cook, which meant that I had to go through an apprenticeship, which took me 4.5 years. Excuse me, the culmination of which was a dinner I had to provide for 10 guests. It had to be 25 dishes that I had to cook with an assistant and a scullery maid in 8 hours. It had to be all 18th century food. And I did it, and so I became a journeyman in period cooking. So today, oh look, hi Cassie, yay, I got a hello. Hello Jamie. Oh, Jamie, by the way, I really loved your turban the other day. Your singing was amazing. Hi, Christine. Good. Awesome. So we're going to get started. This is super easy. You can do it with just, honestly, a bowl and a whisk. I'm going to use my #1 kitchen appliance, my KitchenAid. I used to joke and say, if my house was on fire and my children and my cats were safe and my husband, the one thing I would go and get would be this KitchenAid. It has served me faithfully for many years, but you can just use the bowl and the whisk. If you have a copper bowl, that would be even better. I, unfortunately, don't know where I put mine. It's around here somewhere. And in the period, they had metal ones. I found one reference to metal whips, but they also would have had twig whips or twig whisks, and those you can actually find. Giftchalet.com has them because they're still used in Norway, and they are a bunch of birch twigs that are stripped and tied together. They work amazingly well, even better than that. We were going to have a whip off one day, but we never quite do it. Hello, Stacy. Welcome. Okay, so this is what we need. You ready? 1 cup of heavy cream. Hello, John Costa. My husband's watching upstairs. I should say that we're all homebounders. You know how they have history bounders and Disney bounders? We're now homebounders. So welcome, homebounders. But we need 1 cup of heavy cream. We need 1.25 cups of a wine. Now, I'm using a Moscato because I like sweet wine. You don't have to. Just remember, whatever wine that you choose, it's going to be something that you would want to drink. Like, don't go buy the sherry in the cooking aisle in the grocery store. I should say, in New Jersey, the only wine you can buy is cooking wine, and it's horrible. In Virginia, obviously, you can get a really good wine in the grocery store, so I have a Moscato. What this is going to change is probably the amount of sugar you're going to use to sweeten it up at the end, but we have a remedy for that. So, 1.25. Just remember, if you're making this for a big group, it's proportionate. It is usually 1/4 more of the wine than it is to the whipped cream, unless, of course, you want it more boozy, then you add more wine. Here's also an idea for those of you who don't want to have alcohol. You can use, oh, it's backwards, sorry, the sparkling apple cider. This is really great to do with kids as well. So 1 cup of heavy cream, 1.25 of wine, a squeeze of lemon, and if you don't have lemon, honestly, I always have this hanging around. I'm not a snob. Whatever works for you. I've used it for many years. And some sugar. Now, I have castor sugar. I have real castor sugar. This came from a shop in Hampton. There's a British shop out there, Taste of Britain, that carries the real castor sugar. All right, so what we're going to do, hi Glenda, Perfect, Jamie. I'm glad. Yeah, because you never know. Especially if you're driving, say you're having a dinner party and you have guests and one of them is the designated driver, maybe you don't really want to make everything with alcohol. But today we're going to do that option. Okay, so what we're going to do first is if we were doing it in the bowl, we would do it the same way I'm going to do it with my KitchenAid. The KitchenAid, you want to have your whipping handle on there or blade. Pour in your cream. Yes, so, well, you're just going to have to make this with Miss Anna, Stacy, and tell me how she likes it. Anna seems to be my #1 fan. She really likes the chicken pudding, a Virginia favorite. All right, so we're putting in our wine. Now, here's where it's really up to you. A lot of 18th and 19th century receipts, as they were called, leave a lot to your own discretion. Modern cooks want everything down to the millimeter and the micrometer, right? We're all, gotta make it right. Much more in flux in this period. It had to do with, think about it. If you buy flour in the north, you're going to get a hard wheat. If you buy flour in the south, you're going to get a soft wheat. That is going to affect the final product. So knowing your ingredients, knowing, say, how bitter your Seville oranges are, knowing how much sugar you like, is really going to be up to you in the period. So I'm going to just take this and I'm going to squeeze. You really only want a teaspoon or two, but honestly this just works just fine. I usually start and I'm going to whip it for about 30 seconds and then I'm going to stop and taste it and start adding my sugar to it. So, a good point if you don't want it going all over your kitchen. Wow, that's whipping nicely. All right, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a tablespoon of the castor sugar. I'm going to put 2 in here. Usually when we made this at the Governor's Palace, we generally put about 2 tablespoons of sugar in there, but again, it's going to be up to you. And if you have powdered sugar, that's fine. The difference with the sugars in the 18th and 19th century was they used to come in loaves, not in cones, right? Loaves is what they called them. And you could have gotten brown sugar, muscovado sugar is what we call today. Remembering that brown sugar is not the sugar we have in the store, that is white sugar with molasses put back into it. So knowing so you got sugar and what grade of sugar you got, they came on a loaf and you either had to scrape it off with a knife or a grater, or what you normally did is break off chunks and you got a mortar and pestle and you ground it. Now we call powdered sugar, you ever wondered why there's a 3X on the box? Because that's a triple powdered sugar in the 18th century. First grinding, we would have called powdered sugar. That would be your granulated sugar. Double sugar or double powdered would have been castor sugar, and triple powdered would have been what you think of as confectionery sugar today. So just something to think about. Just like broadcloths are not the same in the period as they are broadcloths now. Sugar is the same, but the terminology is codified now. Okay, so let's keep mixing this. I forgot. Okay. I'm going to give it a taste. Normally, if you weren't here, I would stick my fingers in it. That's lovely. You can also add a little bit of sprinkling of nutmeg if you'd like. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a very classic one. All right, now we're going to whip it until it's soft peaks. Remembering that if you go too far, you make it really stiff, you're going to get something either reflect on calling it this. And it's not really affectionately calling it this, but we used to call it Syllabub. So you don't want Syllabub. You're welcome, Glenda. Remember, this does take a little bit longer because there is the addition of the alcohol in there. And unless you're using, we used to use raw milk a lot if we got it from the cows. It would whip up even faster because of the protein in the milk. Now here's another thing too. There's many references to Syllabub. Many references to Syllabub being from under the cow. You were supposed to take your bowl and pour the milk from a cow or the cream from a cow up high, or have it under the cow, and you were supposed to, you know. Oh, hi, Katie. Hello, Ron. Say everybody's what? Yay! Thank you for joining me. Anyway, you were supposed to milk the cow into the Syllabub, and it was supposed to whip it. What the food historian Ivan Day found, and he is, to me, the ultimate in food knowledge. He's an amazing man. He's in England. If you haven't seen Ivan Day's website, please check it out. Enormously talented, walking encyclopedia version of anything that has to do with food history. He said that a cow is actually a specialized container that they have in Britain that kind of oddly looks like a cow. It's kind of round, it's got a little snout, it's got a kind of 4 little legs on it, and that they poured the cream from the cow. That doesn't really mean you were taking your Syllabub out to the barn and getting up under the cow and, you know, milking it in there. Just, that always bothered me. So, still whipping. Hi, Doug. Hi, Taylor. So, just to show you, did any of you actually try the pepper cakes? Because there they are. That's what they look like when they're done. If you look really closely, go back on the RSV website. The photo I posted the other day with the dessert course actually has some better looking pepper cakes than this on there, but this is the pepper cake. See? And these actually took more than 2 hours to dry. These took the better part of the day, but they're really quite lovely. All right, so let's go check out our Syllabub. I'll just give them another look. Now, I'm going to look at this, and this is going to be, to me, and I'm going to show you what I mean. This is a little too soft for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to, instead of whipping it for much longer, I feel like I'm on one of those cooking shows where they go and they get stuff out of the refrigerator. I'm actually going to add some more heavy cream to it and let it go for just about another minute. And again, it all depends on the quality of your cream, how old it is, and the period. So if anybody has any questions? No? Good. Awesome. So we're almost done. Let me show you what it's going to look like when it's done. These I made this morning. When it's done, you're going to see that the cream rises to the top, and you get a flavored wine punch on the bottom. And remember, the more wine you put in it, the bigger the wine punch is going to be. You know, my sister and my husband both are gluten-free, Jamie. So yes, this is actually a really wonderful gluten-free option for dessert. And yes, you can. You can. Let's see. I have never tried it with a vegan option to heavy cream. If you try it, please let us know how it goes. But this is one of those recipes that I absolutely make for people who have problems with gluten. All right, so I'm going to call it done. And it is, I'll come over and show you. It is very, you see, it's very lightly whipped. So now what we're going to do, we're going to get our glasses. And these are not Syllabub glasses, but I thought these are really beautiful. And these are Syllabub glasses. These we can say came from Colonial Williamsburg. I believe they still sell them today. They were pretty inexpensive. They were about $3 or $4 a piece. When you first put it in here, be mindful that it's not going to look separated. So if you are going to make this for a party and you do want that beautiful separation, you are going to have to make it at least 2 hours ahead of time. And you can fill it up as high as you want, and there it is, beautiful. If you don't have fancy glasses, that's fine. Any kind of glass will work. Something clear, because you do want to show the separation and see how pretty it is. Oh, here's another thing. If you want to use rosé, you can use rosé. It'll turn pink. You can also very carefully, my colleague Susan Holler used to do this. She used to drop just a drop of sherry in the bottom of the glass and then very carefully spoon this over the top, and what would happen is the bottom would turn pink and the top would stay white. They were absolutely gorgeous. I could never get the hang of that, so I used to use a rosé or a Madeira or a port, and it would turn, the whole thing would turn pink, and it was really quite lovely. So there we have one that's ready to go, to be set for 2 hours, and one that's done. Now I'm sure you can see that there's the wine punch on the bottom. But here's another alternative. If you're having a party, right, plastic glasses work just fine as well. All right. Katie Costa, who's my daughter, and she's in Portugal. Hello from Portugal, right? Hi, Katie. Jamie, she just posted a link for some vegan options that you might want to take a peek at. So, that's the end of our video. I want you to try it yourself. Please let me know how you like it. Again, how much cream, how much wine, how much sugar, how much spice you put in there is completely up to you. Thank you for joining me, and enjoy.